The News Watch never stops. This is 1010 Wins at 92.3 FM. You give us 22 minutes, we'll give you the world.
Good evening, 55 degrees at 6:40. I'm Lori Metten, and here's what's happening on Election Eve. President Trump has just made an endorsement in the New York City mayoral race. Details in a moment. The verdict is guilty for the New Jersey man charged with murder for driving drunk into a crowd on the Lower East Side July 4th and killing 4 people. You won't be waiting as long for the A and L trains. Additional service is being added to the schedule. 2 firefighters, 2 civilians injured today when a blaze raced through a top-floor apartment in the Claremont section of the Bronx. Red Hot Chili Peppers drummer Chad Smith is giving it away. A music scholarship, that is. In sports tonight, Knicks hosts the Wizards. Nets host the Timberwolves. 1010 Wins AccuWeather says the shower's still around early this evening. Otherwise clearing and breezy, low 48. Sunny, very windy tomorrow, high 60. Wins News Time, 6:41 from the Mercedes-Benz of Edison.com Traffic Center. Let's get you where you need to go. Here's Greg Rice.
It's been like a demolition derby in Jersey on the Parkway over the last half hour or so. Southbound Parkway near exit 148. They're pushing that crash off to the shoulder, but then in Irvington, southbound Parkway after 143C, we still have that crash, and you got the right lane out. Northbound Parkway near exit 141, you're getting rid of a crash, but that as you backed up all the way towards Cranford. The northbound western spur, word of a crash near the Vince Lombardi. The northbound eastern spur, that'll treat you better. And in Hawthorne, southbound 208 near Goffle Road, still a crash making a mess of things in either direction. Here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels. Out of town at the George West side, the best of it. The inbound George is fine. Lincoln behaves into the city and out for that matter. The outbound Holland's all right, but on the Jersey side, Skyway still slow in either direction. Brooklyn down Brooklyn Bridge still all sorts of slow out of lower Manhattan. You can't catch a break on the belt in Brooklyn, not yet. Westbound looks like a crash near Stillwell Avenue, and the eastbound belt at a standstill from Bay Ridge and off to Verrazano, all the way on back towards the area of Bay Parkway. Nassau, southbound Meadowbrook, Nessie to Hempstead Turnpike. You want the southbound Wantagh or the southbound Seaford Oyster Bay Expressway instead. Greg Rice, 1010 Wins at 92.3 FM.
Just moments ago, President Trump endorsed Andrew Cuomo for mayor of New York. The president posted to Truth Social, quote, "Whether you personally like Andrew Cuomo or not, you really have no choice. You must vote for him and hope he does a fantastic job. He is capable of it. Mamdani is not." No word from Andrew Cuomo yet on the endorsement from the president tonight. The candidates for mayor have been crisscrossing the 5 boroughs all day, making their final case to voters on Election Eve. The Democratic nominee and his supporters began the day with an early morning walk.
On Mamdani's 7 a.m. sunrise address, his message to New Yorkers:
let them feel the light of City Hall when their late-night bus home is faster and freer and safer too. Let them feel the light of City Hall when the clock strikes midnight to mark the first day of a new month, and the rent payment that looms doesn't make them feel a pit in their stomach.
This after Mamdani and hundreds of his supporters walked across the Brooklyn Bridge. Mamdani carrying a banner that reads, "Our time is now." Glenn Schuck, 1010 Wins, 92.3 FM at City Hall.
Well, despite that endorsement from President Trump endorsing again Andrew Cuomo, there is a Republican in the race, Curtis Lewa. He campaigned in Coney Island, greeting voters at the F train stop today. And he had a message for his fellow Republicans and other voters who may be wavering.
They must be so used to losing locally that they don't think they can win. And I tell them all they need to do is look at the triumph of Rudy Giuliani in 93.
Again, we have not heard from Andrew Cuomo yet on the endorsement from the president tonight. The former governor has been campaigning in all 5 boroughs. He was in Washington Heights a little earlier.
Andrew Cuomo appealed directly to Latino voters.
Socialism didn't work in Venezuela. Socialism didn't work in Cuba. Socialism is not going to work in New York City.
And he said he is the only candidate who can stand up to Donald Trump.
He would cut off federal funding to New York if Mamdani Cuomo was elected. That would be devastating to New York. Devastating.
Cuomo is counting on the support of voters like Andrea Overton.
Always thought he did a good job and always, thought that he maintained Bronx and, as governor. So that's why I'm voting for him.
Marla Diamond, 1010 wins on 92.3 FM in Washington Heights.
Another race in our area that has gained national attention, the New Jersey gubernatorial contest. Nearly 1.2 million voters have already cast their ballots in early voting. On Election Day, the polls in the Garden State are open from 6 a.m. until 8 p.m. The polls show a very close race between Democratic Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill and Republican Jack Ciattarelli. If you'd like to spend some of your summer on Nantucket, you might want to keep your eye on a local race there, a local ballot proposal.
Summer vacations in New England may be in jeopardy. Voters on Nantucket Island go to the polls tomorrow to decide on tighter limits on rental housing that would preserve more real estate for locals. A competing measure would ensure the popular tourist spot off Cape Cod remains open to long and short-term renters. Many property owners and small businesses say both are a must for the local economy. The issue has sparked court cases and feuds among millionaires and billionaires. Deborah Rodriguez for 1010 Wins.
While thousands of participants made their way over the Verrazano Bridge yesterday for the start of the New York Marathon, a Brooklyn man decided to make his way off the bridge by hang gliding. Police say he flew off the bridge and landed in a Brooklyn park. He apparently wasn't hurt. They identified the daredevil as Jonathan Warren. They say 911 was flooded with calls. Warren has been charged with reckless endangerment. The drunk driver who plowed into a crowd on the Lower East Side on July 4th, killing 4 people, has been convicted of murder in a non-jury trial. Daniel Hayden of Monmouth, New Jersey, faces 25 years to life when he's sentenced next month.
The Ford F-150 blew a stop sign at 39 miles an hour, through a construction zone and over a sidewalk at 54 miles an hour, and barreled into a park along the FDR, where people were getting ready for the big fireworks show. Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg says the car only stopped because it was on top of human beings.
He was not even touching the brakes. Even after he hit 11 people, he was still revving the engine.
4 of those 11 people died. Daniel Hayden's alcohol level was twice the legal limit.
These individuals tragically died because of Mr. Hayden's irresponsible, callous, criminal actions.
Mac Rosenberg, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM.
Your next stop on the L train might come a little quicker.
This is a Brooklyn-bound L train. The next stop is 6th Avenue.
Beginning today, Governor Hochul says the MTA is adding service to both the L and A lines. On the L, 2 extra trains are now running during the 8 a.m. hour. On the A train, midday service is getting 2 additional trains, one serving Far Rockaway, the other Lefferts Boulevard. If you receive SNAP, the Trump administration will pay some of the benefit this month, but it's not clear how much you will see on your card and when you'll see it. This all coming after the administration responded to a federal judge's order.
In a filing entered just before Judge John McConnell's noontime deadline, the Trump administration said it would begin using a contingency fund to pay out partial SNAP benefits. Officials now say that fund has only about $4.5 billion left in it, enough to pay just half of November's need. The USDA, which administers SNAP, says it will immediately begin advising states about the reduced payout. And an agency official warns the court that adjusting the state systems to account for it could take weeks, if not months.
Correspondent Stephen Portnoy. Meanwhile, in New Jersey, Governor Murphy has announced the deployment of the National Guard to support food banks. He says members of the Air National Guard are mobilizing to deliver refrigerated storage containers to the Community Food Bank of New Jersey and the group Fulfill. He also says members of the New Jersey National Guard are mobilizing to support the Community Food Bank in Hillside with food distribution. 2 New York City firefighters hospitalized tonight after suffering injuries battling an apartment blaze in the Claremont section of the Bronx.
More serious, we're out 2 firefighters, 1 battalion chief and 1 firefighter who were transported to St. Barnabas this morning. The battalion chief had some shortness of breath, and the firefighter had a fall after the fire was over and taking up equipment.
Deputy Assistant Chief Chris Ritchie is the Bronx Borough Commander. He says 2 civilians suffered minor injuries. The fire erupted around 8:30 this morning on the 6th floor of a building on Clay Avenue at East 171st Street. No word yet on a cause. But first, Wins News Time 6:51. Let's get you where you need to go. Here's Greg Rice.
You can't get your break in Brooklyn yet. Westbound belt looks like police work near Stillwell Avenue. That's why you're throwing from Knapp Street. The eastbound belt out of Bay Ridge still slow over to Bay 8th Street as they deal with a crash through that stretch. Now, the westbound BQE, we had a big accident near the Williamsburg Bridge. That is still there, knocking out at least 1 left lane and jamming you up all the way from Queens Boulevard. And then on the westbound BQE between the Williamsburg Bridge and White Avenue looks like a whole other crash. Eastbound BQE slows, like always, into the Brooklyn Bridge. Here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels. City-bound side of the George Washington Bridge, good enough to the upper and lower crosswalk. Slows getting out from Sheridan Boulevard. Northbound Deegan slows from Yankee Stadium. Northbound west side, the best of it out of town. Lincoln, pretty good ride either way. Outbound Holland's all right. The inbound Skyway still a bit slow. The Newark Bay is where you go. And the Brooklyn-bound Brooklyn Bridge still jammed up out of lower Manhattan. Through Jersey, the southbound Garden State Parkway in Irvington at 143C. That's a collision. You got the right lane out. Greg Rice, 1010 Wins at 92.3 FM.
Let's get a check now of your AccuWeather forecast. Here's meteorologist Matt Benz.
Well, we are tracking some showers that are starting to move into the north side of portions of the listening area here. A good chunk of North Jersey and on up through portions of the Hudson Valley through Rockland and northern Westchester County. There'll be a shower in spots here from the city on north over the next hour or so. Then things will begin to wind down here later on this evening and into tonight as it clears out. Turning breezy, low 48 tomorrow. Bright sunshine, windy day, high is 60. Wednesday, clouds and sun, breezy, high is 65. And for Thursday, breezy and cooler, high 54. Right now it's 55 degrees in Central Park under a cloudy sky. Repeating, the current temperature is 55, falling down to 48 tonight in Midtown. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Matt Benz on New York's weather station, 10 Wins on 92.3 FM.
Red Hot Chili Peppers drummer Chad Smith is giving it away. A music scholarship to the University of Michigan. The Rock and Roll Hall of Famer grew up in suburban Detroit, made his announcement during the school's annual Bando-Rama. The Curtis and Joan Smith Scholarship, named in honor of Smith's parents, will be awarded to an incoming freshman at the University School of Music, Theater, and Dance, a student who demonstrates financial need and a strong commitment to pursuing a career in music. New home, same street for a classic kid show.
The new season of Sesame Street debuts next week. And while the theme song will be the same, the format might be a little different thanks to a new partner, Netflix. The main story at the top of the show will be 11 minutes long instead of 9, better to connect with kids, the creators say. The show could also break the fourth wall and talk straight to children with characters telling their feelings or asking for advice. Because Netflix has such a global audience, the new season will be streamed in 30 different languages. Sherry Preston, ABC News.
1010 Wins.
It's quick, it's reliable.
They deliver the news without any bias.
Clear and concise.
No opinions, just news. 1010 Wins.
On 92.3 FM.
Now Bloomberg Money Watch.
Merger Monday, Amazon signed a 7-year, $38 billion deal to supply OpenAI with computing power, a pact that includes hundreds of thousands of NVIDIA graphics processing chips. Shares in Amazon closed ahead 4% today. And the owner of Kleenex and Huggies, Kimberly Clark, has agreed to buy Tylenol maker Kenvue in a deal worth about $40 billion, creating the second biggest seller of health and wellness products after Procter & Gamble. A mixed session begins the new month on Wall Street. The Dow lost 226 points. The Nasdaq added 110. The S&P up 12. I'm Erica Huskowitz. Bloomberg Money Watch on 1010 Wins at 92.3 FM.
WINS FM and HD1 New York.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
We might see another shower pop up early tonight. Otherwise, it will clear later on. A breezy night ahead of us, low 48 degrees. Right now, it's 55. More people get their news from 1010 Wins than from any other radio station in the nation. John Davis is our service aide. Chris Roush is at the editor's desk. I'm Lori Madden.
All news, all the time. This is 1010 Wins at 92.3 FM, New York.
55 degrees, partly cloudy at 7 o'clock. Good evening. I'm Lane Bedardi, and here's what's happening. Final campaigning ahead of Election Day tomorrow for the candidates for New York City mayor and New Jersey governor. The man accused of killing four driving drunk in a 4th of July celebration along the East River, convicted today. The Trump administration will partially fund SNAP food benefits after two judges ruled their decision not to was wrong. Feel like you're spending half your life in traffic? A new study says you're not that far off. The Knicks are giving people a chance to compete to show their talents during a halftime performance. Knicks host the Wizards tonight. Nets host the Timberwolves. AccuWeather says a stray shower or two into this evening, then breezy with clearing overnight, low 48. Bright sunshine, windy tomorrow, high 60. Winds News Time 7:01. Let's get you where you need to go with Greg Rice.
Well, good evening, Lane. Big trouble in Westchester. We had a truck sneak onto the northbound Hutch and then slam into an overpass near Wilmot Road. As we heard from Vinny on the 1010 Winds Twitter line, they have closed the northbound side of the Hutch over at New Wilmot Road. They're forcing everybody off of the northbound Hutch at North Avenue. You are better served out of the Bronx and into Westchester on the northbound side of 95. Citybound side of the George, good enough to the upper and lower. The west side, best of it out. Cross Bronx, the worst. Lincoln Tunnel, about an extra 10 minutes in. Outbound Lincoln's fine. Holland, no more than a few minutes either way. Brooklyn, westbound BQE. Looks like we're still dealing with double trouble. You got this westbound crash in the left lane before the Williamsburg, and then between the Williamsburg Bridge and Wythe Avenue. We're also dealing with an accident that's got at least one, if not multiple, lanes blocked. Eastbound BQE, usual mess to the Brooklyn Bridge. The ride in Jersey, 78 westbound, looks like a crash in the express lane west of the Garden State Parkway. Greg Rice, 1010 Winds at 92.3 FM.
The poll showing Democrat Zoran Mamdani with a commanding lead over two major challengers for mayor. Former Governor Andrew Cuomo crisscrossed the city. A last-minute effort to get out the vote.
Andrew Cuomo made his last-minute pitch to Latino voters in the Bronx and here in Washington Heights, likening Democrat Zoran Mamdani to regimes in Latino countries.
Socialism didn't work in Venezuela. Socialism didn't work in Cuba. Socialism is not going to work in New York City.
Tiso Pena said he can feel momentum shifting Cuomo's way.
A lot of people come out and vote for Cuomo. Yesterday, Democrat.
Cuomo also said he's the candidate to stand up to President Trump, pointing out that the president again last night threatened to cut off federal funding if Mamdani wins. Marla Diamond, 1010 Winds on 92.3 FM in Washington Heights.
Mamdani started his day at sunrise with a walk across the Brooklyn Bridge to where he hopes to be working on January 1st, City Hall.
I want to make city government a light of its own that people across the city feel at all hours of the day. The light of City Hall when their late-night bus home is faster and freer and safer too.
Tonight, Mamdani is campaigning in Queens. Republican nominee Curtis Sliwa made a stop in Coney Island, drawing attention once again to subway crime and addressing doubts among fellow Republicans that he has a chance to win this three-way race.
They must be so used to losing locally that they don't think they can win. And I tell them, all they need to do is look at the triumph of Rudy Giuliani in 93.
Sliwa spending most of his day in Brooklyn with stops in Flatbush and Bay Ridge tonight. President Trump on social media tonight encouraging fellow Republicans to cast their votes not for Sliwa, but for Cuomo, and threatening to withhold federal funding to New York if Mamdani is elected. If you haven't voted yet, you have one more chance. Tomorrow's the traditional election day. A lot of people didn't want to wait. More than 735,000 votes already cast in the 5 boroughs, more than 4 times the number who voted early in 2021. The number is similar in New Jersey. Nearly 742,000 early votes there, and in mail-in ballots in a total of 1.2 million people have already cast their vote in the Garden State. Republican gubernatorial candidate Jack Ciattarelli among them. His rival, Democrat Mikey Sherrill, will vote tomorrow in Montclair. While just about every poll so far gives Sherrill the advantage, most have been very close. Ciattarelli supporters like that because after many polls showed him down 8 points to Governor Phil Murphy 4 years ago, he ended up losing by 3. The latest poll from Atlas Intel is the latest to see the race in a dead heat, with Sherrill at 50.2%, Ciattarelli at 49.3%, less than 1% undecided. President Trump holding another tele-rally for Ciattarelli tonight. Lock it into 1010 Wins for team coverage of the election results tomorrow night. The Trump administration has responded to a federal judge's order that to pay out SNAP food assistance benefits immediately despite the government shutdown.
In a filing entered just before Judge John McConnell's noontime deadline, the Trump administration said it would begin using a contingency fund to pay out partial SNAP benefits. Officials now say that fund has only about $4.5 billion left in it, enough to pay just half of November's need. The USDA, which administers SNAP, says it will immediately begin advising states about the reduced payout, but an agency official warns the court that adjusting the state's systems to account for it could take weeks, if not months.
Correspondent Stephen Portnoy, furloughed federal employees needing food assistance, received it today in Farmingdale, Long Island.
We're helping federal employees who really need assistance. And for most of them, it's the first time they've ever turned to anywhere for help.
Island Harvest Food Bank's Randy Dresner says the federal workers received enough food for days. Inside the boxes, fresh fruits and vegetables, chicken, meat, rice, and peanut butter.
Asking for help is not something to be embarrassed about. It's a bump in the road.
She says there are tens of thousands of federal employees living on Long Island.
We're going to honor their dignity and respect as we do for everybody that we help every day of the week.
Sophia Hall, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM in Farmingdale, Long Island.
The judges granted Sean Diddy Combs' request for an expedited appeal. Combs now serving a 50-month sentence on 2 prostitution-related convictions in New Jersey, but his attorneys were concerned that he would finish serving time before the appeal was heard. Oral arguments now scheduled for April. Combs was transferred to a low-security federal prison at Fort Dix last week. Guilty verdict today in the deaths of 4 people in 2023 when a truck rammed into a 4th of July celebration along the East River.
It was just like any other 4th of July at a park along the FDR. Family and friends getting ready for the big fireworks show until a Ford F-150 plowed into them. Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg says the driver, Daniel Hayden, never took his foot off the gas.
The car only stops because it was on top of human beings.
11 people were hit, 4 were killed. Hayden had twice the legal limit of alcohol in his system. Family and friends of the victims packed the courtroom for the trial.
It was humbling and inspiring.
Hayden faces 25 to life at sentencing. Mac Rosenberg's 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM.
A terrorism-related charge has been filed against 2 suburban Detroit men after FBI agents seized weapons and ammunition from 2 homes and a storage unit. According to the criminal complaint unsealed in federal court, the men had scouted LGBTQ bars in Ferndale, Michigan.
Mohamed Ali and Majed Mahmoud stood with their lawyers in the federal courtroom, only talking when Judge Bernard Friedman asks for their names. Both allegedly conspired to unleash terror in Metro Detroit. The complaint says the duo stockpiled AR-15 rifles, shotguns, handguns, tactical vests, and over 1,600 rounds of ammo.
Correspondent Tim Pamplin in federal court where the 2 men made their initial appearance. The court filing says they were charged and 3 other co-conspirators were inspired by the Islamic State group's extremism to do what they are alleged to have done. 3 more bodies of hostages have been returned to Israel as the ceasefire still holds between Israel and Hamas. One of those hostages, 21-year-old Israeli-American soldier Omer Neutral.
Early on, there was some indication that this would be difficult because of all of the rubble from the various airstrikes, and that's what Hamas has said, that it has taken so long for them to reach the hostage bodies. Well, Israeli officials, as well as Omer Neutra's family, one of the Americans who was taken hostage and killed, they have said that Hamas has been delaying this process and has been playing games.
Correspondent Marcus Moore, the bodies of 8 more hostages still remain in Gaza. Ukraine has received more U.S.-made Patriot air defense systems to help it counter Russia's daily barrages. Just as drones from Russia killed a man and injured 5 of his family members, including 2 children, in the latest nighttime attack. 55 degrees, partly cloudy. We are going down to 48 in Midtown. New study says New York's second only to L.A. in how much time we waste in traffic. We'll tell you about that, but first... Traffic. Wins News Time 7-11. Let's get you where you need to go with Greg Rice.
A lot of it on the east side of Manhattan right now. Southbound FDR Drive near East 48th Street. Somebody broke down to the left lane, so you're starting to crawl from 79th Street on down. Northbound FDR also messy, getting up towards East 106th Street. The West Side Highway, much better bet. Over to Brooklyn, plenty of traffic there as well. Westbound BQE approaching the Williamsburg Bridge. You still have a breakdown blocking at least 1 left lane and a real slow ride from Queens Boulevard, and then between the Williamsburg and White Avenue, another crash awaits. Here's the ride, or here's what you need to know about the bridges and the tunnels. Citybound George, good enough to the upper lower west side, the best of it out. Lincoln and Holland, no more than a few either way. Brooklyn down Brooklyn Bridge, still pretty tough. out of Lower Manhattan. Queens, Cross Island with Southbound Company to the LI, stay with the Clearview. And in Westchester, northbound Hutch, all lanes subject to closure at New Wilmot Road as they get rid of a truck that hit an overpass. They're going to force pretty much everybody off of the northbound side of the Hutch. At North Avenue, stay with 95 instead. Greg Rice, 1010 wins at 92.3 FM.
Now the AccuWeather 4-day forecast. Here is meteorologist Matt Benz.
For tonight, after a stray shower early, breezy with a clearing for the overnight, low of 48. Tomorrow, bright sunshine, but a blustery day, high 60 degrees. Tomorrow night starts off mainly clear, then clouds thicken late, low of 47. Wednesday, intervals of clouds and sunshine becoming breezy, high of 65, then windy into Wednesday night. There could be a shower in places north of the city. Then for Thursday, turning out breezy and cooler overall, sunshine and some clouds. Temperatures rising up to a high of 54 by Thursday afternoon. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Matt Benz on New York's weather station. 10 winds on 92.3 FM.
55 degrees with a little light rain. We are going down to 43 in Midtown. There's a news study out on traffic in the city showing New York is one of the top 2 worst places for it in the nation.
Traffic in New York comes in at top 2 in the entire country, which Devin says we're no stranger to.
You know, this is New York, Traffic, a lot of traffic, you gotta expect it.
Texas A&M's Transportation Institute put a latest urban mobility report out, saying that instead of seeing traffic during rush hours, we're seeing it in the middle of the day, the week, and even the weekends, which Dorothy says has been the case for months.
Double with the amount of vehicles.
She thinks it's even worse now than before the pandemic.
All of their isolation, people are just out more now.
Mary Lynn Buckley, 1010 wins on 92.3 FM in St. George, Staten Island.
They have what it takes to entertain a garden full of Knicks fans. The team's hosting a talent competition. The winner getting the chance to perform a halftime show. Also comes with a $50,000 grand prize. First runner-up gets $10,000. Deadline to submit a video to apply is Wednesday, so you better get moving. Details on the Knicks team website. He's one of the best pitchers not in the Baseball Hall of Fame.
He struck him out. Strikeout number 4,000. And Roger Clemens has just joined an exclusive fraternity. Only 3 members. Nolan Ryan, Steve Colton, and now Roger Clemens.
Michael Kay with the yes call on that moment in baseball history. Now Clemens is on the ballot to be inducted by way of the Hall of Fame's Contemporary Baseball Era Committee. It's kind of a consolation prize. 75% vote needed for induction by the Veterans Committee. He's just one of the former Yankees and former Mets on the newly released ballot, along with Don Mattingly, Gary Sheffield, Carlos Delgado, and Jeff Kent, who, was a Met for about a cup of coffee. Barry Bonds, Dale Murphy, and Fernando Valenzuela are also under consideration, with the 16-member committee voting December 7th. The Dodgers won the World Series on what would have been Valenzuela's 65th birthday, with his memorial patch on their sleeve. Today, a celebration in Los Angeles. Huge crowds in downtown L.A. and at Dodger Stadium for the celebration following the thrilling Game 7 extra innings win over Toronto.
Everybody's been asking questions about a dynasty. How about 3 in 6 years? How about a back-to-back? Yes! We're a dynasty, baby!
Outfielder Kike Hernandez. There was a lot of talk about the potential for a three-peat at today's events. This year's World Series was perhaps the first true World Series. The Dodgers began their season playing in Japan, ended the year with a victory in Canada. Dramatic finish drew 25.5 million viewers across Fox platforms, with many millions more watching in Canada and Japan, where that nation is following Japanese players Shohei Ohtani, World Series MVP Yoshinobu Yashimoto, and Roki Sasaki, also on the Dodgers. The numbers are better than just about every other major sport in America, with the exception of the Super Bowl, which is a whole other animal. Jury selection began today in the trial of the D.C. sandwich guy.
A video went viral in August showing Sean Dunn calling federal agents racists and fascists before throwing a salami sandwich at one of them. He faces a misdemeanor assault charge after a grand jury refused to indict him on more serious counts. His lawyers claim the case is selective and vindictive prosecution, arguing he was singled out for speaking out against the administration's deployment of National Guard troops in the nation's capital.
Correspondent Stacey Lynn, 3-time Oscar nominee Diane Ladd has died. Her death announced today by her daughter, actress Laura Dern, who said, "My amazing hero and my profound gift of a mother passed with me beside her this morning at her home in Ojai, California. Land earned an Oscar nomination co-starring with her daughter in Wild at Heart.
How are you know something, sweetheart? I've done something so bad. Real bad.
Diane Ladd was 89. If you live in or drive in Island Park, you're probably familiar with the old shuttered motel on Austin Boulevard near Jamaica Avenue. Nassau County now gifting the property to the Tunnel to Towers Foundation for Veteran Housing. Gavin Naples, the organization's senior VP.
What we are doing is providing long-term permanent supportive housing at these veterans villages with 24/7 wraparound supportive services for our veterans, including case management, behavioral health, entitlements assistance.
The center should be completed next year.
All news, all the time. This is 1010 Wins at 92.3 FM. You give us 22 minutes, we'll give you the world.
55 degrees, some light rain at 7:20. I'm Lane Pajardi. Here's what's happening. President Trump with a last-minute endorsement of Andrew Cuomo in the race for mayor. A potential setback for Curtis Sliwa, while Zohran Mamdani continues to appear the man to beat. October crime stats put the city on track for record low shootings this year. Tired of being crowded on the L&A trains? The MTA sees you and is set to add service. 4 people injured during an apartment fire in the Claremont section of the Bronx. Search is on for the Good Samaritan, who saved a disabled man who went missing in Flushing. A family in Elmont wants the chance to show their appreciation. Sports tonight, Knicks host the Wizards. Nets host the Timberwolves. AccuWeather says a stray shower or two in this evening. Then breezy with clearing overnight, low 48. Bright sunshine, windy tomorrow. Election day high, 60 degrees. Wins News Time 7:21. Let's get you where you need to go with Greg Rice.
Now, southbound side of the FDR Drive coming down towards East 48th Street. You got the left lane out with a breakdown and brake lights all the way on back towards the East 102nd Street area. Southbound west side, that'll treat you a whole lot better. In Westchester, northbound side of the Hutch, they're going to force you off at North Avenue because of a truck that slammed into an overpass near Wilmot Road. 95 northbound, just a better bet. Brooklyn, better. Westbound B Queen near the Williamsburg. Earlier crash is gone. It's still slow from Queens Boulevard, but that'll get better. BQE also remains heavy either way into the Brooklyn Bridge. The Belt's slow ride either way through Shell Road, but the earlier crashes that caused that mess, they're all gone. Here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels. City-bound George, pretty good to the upper and lower. Cross Bronx, worst of it out with some brake lights from Sheridan Boulevard. Lincoln Tunnel and Holland Tunnel, no more than a few either way. Brooklyn-bound, Brooklyn Bridge still a bit bunched up. Out of lower Manhattan to Manhattan Bridge, the Battery Tunnel, they do better. Greg Rice, 1010 Wins at 92.3 FM.
Hello, it's Scott Shannon, inviting you to check out my True Oldies channel playing the greatest hits of the 60s and 70s. Download the free Odyssey app, search Scott Shannon, and lock it in.
Powered by River Spring Living.
With polls showing Zohran Mamdani with a commanding lead over 2 major challengers for mayor, the Democratic Party nominee started his day with a sunrise walk across the Brooklyn Bridge to where he hopes to be working on January 1st. City Hall.
Just like this campaign when we launched on October 23rd over a year ago, I began with only a few people by my side. But the banner we carried told a story, even when we were polling at 1%. Our time is now.
President Trump on social media tonight encouraging fellow Republicans to cast their votes for Andrew Cuomo and threatening to withhold federal funding to New York if Mamdani is elected. The former governor crisscrossed the city in a last-minute effort to get out the vote.
An energized Andrew Cuomo drew a crowd here in Washington Heights where he addressed President Trump's televised endorsement.
He called me a bad Democrat. First of all, I happen to be a good Democrat and a proud Democrat.
After losing the primary, Cuomo is running as an independent. The Democrat, Zohran Mamdani, has a lead in the polls.
The more people find out who he is, the more people find out his positions, the lower he goes.
He was joined by Ruben Diaz Sr., a former city councilman known for his conservative views, who told the largely Spanish-speaking crowd they must protect New York from a socialist. Marla Diamond, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM in Washington Heights.
Republican nominee Curtis Sliwa made a stop at Coney Island, drawing attention once again to subway crime and addressing doubts among fellow Republicans that he has a chance to win this three-way race. Sliwa spending most of his day in Brooklyn with stops in Flatbush and Bay Ridge tonight. Lock it into 1010 Wins for team coverage of all the election results tomorrow night, right here. If current trends hold, 2025 could be one for the books in terms of a crime plunge in the city. NYPD says we've seen the fewest number of shootings and the fewest number of shooting victims ever in the first 10 months of the year. October set a record low. Just 43 shooting incidents and 50 victims, an all-time low for that month. Murders were also at their lowest level ever for the month at 18. Good news if you ride the LRA trains, the MTA is increasing service.
4 more round trips are being added to L train service during the morning rush. Gordon and April ride it to 14th and 1st every day.
There's a lot of people during the AM rush. It's like packed.
Always so packed. So I think adding as many more trips as possible would be great for everyone. Get to work on time, get to school on time.
They say there are plenty of trains, but there are also plenty of delays.
When I went from Bushwick to here, there was a lot, and it was like really frequent.
On the A-Line, 1 round trip will be added to Lefferts Boulevard and Far Rockaway during the day. Mac Rosenberg's 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM.
Out of a story of incredible survival involving a hunter in California's Sierra Nevada mountains who disappeared in early October and has now been found alive.
Ron Daly went hunting over 20 days ago. It was supposed to have been a day trip, but he never came back. Search efforts did not find him. But he says on Saturday, after 20 days missing and out of food and water, he decided he had to walk and find help. After the sun went down, he prayed somebody would find him.
You gotta help me, Father God. And then I ended up in the car with headlights on. And I go, oh God, thank you, Lord.
At that moment, a group of hunters found Daly, giving him food and water and letting him call his wife before bringing him to medical aid. Alex Stone, ABC News.
55 degrees, some light rain falling. We're going down to 48 in Midtown tonight. Now, Bloomberg Money Watch.
Disney is asking YouTube TV to restore the broadcast of its ABC network for Election Day. YouTube TV subscribers lost access to Disney channels like ABC and ESPN last Friday after the 2 companies failed to reach a new agreement over programming costs. Bloomberg estimates YouTube TV has nearly 10 million subscribers. Stocks closed mixed on Wall Street today. The Dow lost 226 points. The Nasdaq added 110. The S&P gained 12, ahead 0.2% on Amazon's $38 billion deal with OpenAI. I'm Erica Herskowitz, Bloomberg Money Watch on 1010 Wins at 92.3 FM.
Which direction will New Yorkers go? The race the whole country is talking about. On New York's election station, 1010 Wins at 92.3 FM.
Wins News Time, 7:30.
Good evening, I'm Mario Boscus. A 55-year-old Long Island man with special needs went missing for 2 days. His sister wants to thank the person who found him injured and called 911.
I'm sorry that we couldn't find him earlier.
Giselle Campione says it was the worst 2 days. Her brother Jack with special needs got separated from the staff from his group home during an outing. He wandered the streets walking 7 miles from Flushing to Queens Plaza where he fell and someone called 911.
Whoever called 911, thank you. I don't know who you are.
He was found as the New York City Marathon was taking place.
So he fractured his nose. He really hurt the side of his face.
Campione lives in Elmont. His sister is his caretaker. He went missing on Halloween and ate candy that was given out. Sophia Hall, 1010 Wins, 92.3 FM on Long Island.
Family is hoping to find the Good Samaritan to express their thanks in person. The group home has not returned a request for comment. Wiz News Time 7:31 is getting you where you need to go with Greg Rice.
Here's the east side of Manhattan, South End FDR near East 48th. Now you got the left lane out because of a broken down sedan and a bad ride from the East 106th Street entrance. Northbound loads up out of Gracie Mansion towards the RFK. The west side's a better ride either way in Manhattan. Here's what you need to know about the bridges and the tunnels. City-bound side of the George is good enough. Cross Bronx is really the worst of it out of town from 3rd Avenue. Lincoln and Holland, no more than a few either way. The Brooklyn-bound Brooklyn Bridge bad out of lower Manhattan. The BQE stays slow either way through. The Brooklyn Bridge and the Van Wyck is jammed up either way through Atlantic Avenue. A little north of the city, northbound Hutch still slow getting up towards Wilmot Road as they get rid of earlier trouble. You had a truck slam into an overpass. Northbound 95 is still going to be the better idea. And just north of the New Jersey state line as you get into New York, northbound Palisades, you got an absolute mess right now. Looks like a crash before exit 5. Greg Rice, 1010 Wins at 92.3 FM.
Let's get a check of the AccuWeather forecast with meteorologist Matt Bevins.
After a stray shower early tonight, look for a clearing sky, breezy conditions with a low of 48 degrees. Tomorrow, bright sunshine, but a windy day, a high of 60. Mainly clear to start off tomorrow night, but clouds will thicken through the night with a low of 47. Wednesday, intervals of clouds and sunshine, dry for the day, but becoming breezy, high of 65 degrees. Then becoming windy into Wednesday night with a shower in places mainly north of the city. Thursday, turning out dry, breezy, but cooler. Sunshine and some clouds. Look for a high of 54 degrees by Thursday afternoon. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Matt Benz on New York's weather station, 1010 Winds on 92.3 FM.
Multiple people, firefighters, 2 injured in the Bronx after heavy smoke and flames tore through
An FDNY
a building,
firefighter
residential
isn't serious.
building.
An FDNY firefighter is in serious but stable condition after battling a 3-alarm fire in a Bronx apartment building. Deputy Assistant Chief Chris Ritchie.
And the more serious were our 2 firefighters, 1 battalion chief and 1 firefighter who were transported to St. Barnabas this morning. The battalion chief had some shortness of breath, and the firefighter had a fall after the fire was over, taking up equipment.
2 civilians also were hurt. They're currently investigating how the fire started. Mary Lynn Buckley, 1010.